Hey there, Danny with Right Foot Down. I messed up this ad read so many times because I really want to tell you about Track Monkey Apparel. They make great quality enthusiast shirts along with hats, stickers, watches, patches, you name it. A couple of my personal favorites are their Life is Better at the Track tee and their One Track Mind tee. You should really check them out and see for yourself. Their products are great for you or the gearhead in your life. Visit trackmonkeyapparel.com.
You're listening to the Untitled Car Show in partnership with RightFootDown.com. Visit Right Foot Down for your daily automotive fix. If you enjoyed today's program, please tell a friend. It's the best way to support this show. If you want to visit the archives, go to YouTube and search for Untitled Car Show. That'll bring you to the archived episodes. If you want to follow this show, just search for Untitled Car Show on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. You can always send an email to the show at untitledcarshow@rightfootdown.com. We're so glad you decided to spend the next hour or so with us. Without further ado, let's get into today's program. Hi, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ike. Today we have Will Clavey. He is a good friend of the show now, I would say, and he has graced us with his presence yet again. Will, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Ike. I'm super happy to be here again. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for coming back. We have a select few we invite back, after they come on the show. The people we really like, and I count you amongst them.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. So, last time we talked, you started working with Jalopnik kind of on the edge.
Right.
And now it seems like you've been putting out more and more articles and content with them more consistently. So how's it been working over there with folks at Jalopnik?
Oh man, Ike, it's been great. It's been fabulous. I consider myself to be blessed to have this great opportunity to write on that website. I've got like really, really exciting news to share with everyone on the show. There's a reason why you're seeing more of my work on Jalopnik, actually, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of it coming up. I've actually made a very ballsy move where I've quit my day job, man.
Oh.
So I did it, man. I just fucking quit my day job, and I'm doing this full time now. So it hasn't been a very long. I mean, this is official since about 3 weeks. Patrick George has been informed of that as well. It's been a lot of thinking. I knew the day would come, and I'm just giving it a try, man. I mean, this is a job that I really love doing. So we'll see where it leads me.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear. I'm glad that you're able to do that. I'm glad that the conversion rate is in your favor as well, like we talked about last time. So that's exciting. So does that mean we'll be seeing more of you each and every day, or what does that mean, now that you no longer have the day gig?
Yeah, so you're going to see more of my work on Jalopnik. I'm also, there's a couple of stories actually on the back burner as we speak right now. Because as you probably have seen through Twitter and social media, Patrick George has moved from Austin, Texas to New York City. So it's been very hard for him, for all the editing, and he's been kind of like on and off, fully installed. And the same thing with Andrew Collins has been also very busy with a lot of his stuff with the Badge 500. The editing kind of like there's a few stories that kind of like went on the back burner, but you'll be seeing some really cool stuff coming up, notably something on the Canadian Grand Prix, which is this weekend, the Formula One Canadian Grand Prix here in Montreal. By the time this show goes live, of course the race will be over, but I'm preparing something pretty special about the Grand Prix, something different, so I'm really excited about that.
So I'm taking it from that you'll be at the actual Grand Prix this weekend.
Well, I'm actually not going to be in Montreal. Unfortunately I'm going to be in Nashville, Tennessee for a General Motors event. But I go to the Grand Prix pretty much every year. I'm actually going to be there on Friday, which is the practice session, which I personally love. I prefer the practice session. There's less people. they're just having fun on the track. I personally like F1. I don't follow it religiously, like every single weekend. I try to stay informed a bit, but just being there in the action, meeting some cool people, checking out the cars, maybe meeting some race car drivers. It's just a cool event. So yeah, I'm going to be there on Friday.
It's funny. I've started doing fantasy F1 this year against the Team Clearcoat guys and a few of. I assume they're all their fans. Maybe there's a little bit of crossover there, but it's fun to do it. It's made it a little bit more. I still can't sit down and watch a race live just because they're on super early most weeks, and that's just crazy to me to get up that early to try and go out and watch it. But I don't know, it's fun, and I'm looking forward to the Canadian Grand Prix because it's going to be the first one that's really going to be live at a time where I can actually sit down and watch it. So
yeah, exactly, and it's actually a very important Grand Prix this year. I don't know if you're aware, but it's the 50th anniversary of the Montreal Grand Prix. Actually, we're going through a lot of celebrations here in Montreal because it's not only is it the 50th Grand Prix, it's the 370th birthday of the city of Montreal, and also the 150th anniversary of the Canadian Constitution this year. So we have three big, I call it a big three-way birthday bash, which I'm going to reference to in my article coming out on Jalopnik soon. This is really exciting. We have a really cool Grand Prix coming up. And Montreal is, I'm not saying this because I'm from here. Everybody says it. No place embraces the Grand Prix as much as Montreal. This city, starting tomorrow, is going to be one hell of a fucking party all the way to Sunday. And we're all going down on Crescent Street in Montreal. I got some buddies coming up to Montreal. And, I'm driving this week at Lincoln Continental, man. We're going to go, just bawling on Crescent with the brand new Continental. I just love that car. What an awesome car with some bros to just go hang out at Grand Prix weekend in Montreal and check out some supercars. There's just supercars everywhere in Montreal right now. So it's really exciting. It's really awesome. Just if you're into cars and you like partying, it's the place to be right now.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm sitting there and I was going, I want a good time to go up and visit Canada because I've never been, and it's on the, I want to go visit Toronto, I want to go visit Montreal, and it's like, maybe next year for the Grand Prix might be the good time just because it's a nice time of year. The weather there just has to be about as perfect as it gets in Canada, all year round. So there you go. And we had some really shitty rain lately, but now it's clearing up, and it's warm here. It's I don't know how to convert it in Fahrenheit, but we're doing 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, which is, you can beat a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. So this is about the warmest we can get in Canada. But it's also an enjoyable Grand Prix because you're by, it's on a man-made island. You're by the water. You get the breeze from the St. Lawrence River. So there's a lot of historical significance around the whole Grand Prix. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve himself. And, Montreal has that vibe going on. So, definitely, if you want to come visit, this is the time. Yeah. So, we kind of talked about it very briefly, but it's, just kind of getting back to the big announcement, you're working full-time with Jalopnik. So
yeah, for sure. Well, I'm not working full-time with Jalopnik. I am doing automotive journalism full-time. I'm still a contributor at Jalopnik, which means I'm still officially a freelancer. But Patrick, sorry to cut you off. I think you had a question about that.
No, I was going to say, I meant to say full-time auto journalism. You're working with Jalopnik. You're doing your own thing. Are you still, how much of a badass, can you put into the pictures now when you get out of these cars? You got a lot more time to practice. How are you going to get out of these cars? Is that basically 80% of your time now, or is that just 90% of your time?
The exiting cars is it's on a regular basis, actually, so that's not a problem. That's just a natural thing. But to answer your question about the whole time thing, that's actually the reason why I had to quit my day job, because I came to a point in my life where I had to make a decision because I was fearing for my personal health. I was exhausted. I was working 60, 70-hour weeks on a regular basis with no vacation. And I was at a point now where I was camouflaging this whole life at my day job, and I was working on my actual automotive journalism work at my day job. and that's just because I was just doing so much of it, and it came to a point where it was taking too much of my time, and there was a kind of like a trigger moment where I asked for vacation. I basically went to see my boss and I said, I need to take some vacation. I went to Florida actually last week, and I'd be happy to share my experience about Florida a bit later as a Canadian citizen. But they refused my vacation. They actually refused it on the pretext that I had taken too many days off in the past for going to events, and it was like, you're taking too many days off, we can't give you this vacation. So this is when I realized, I sat down and I thought, I told myself, Will, this is the moment that you knew would happen. You knew you would come to this. You need vacation. The day job is closing in on you. Now they know about your project. They're going to keep fucking like talking to you about it. They're going to keep checking you out. You can't hide this anymore. So I basically told them that if I wasn't going on vacation, I would go on a burnout. And I think I scared them when I told them that. I just laid down the cards, and I have a lot of respect for that place. They've been great to me. I laid the cards out on the table. I was honest about it. This is what I do. This is my other life. Here's what I do on Clavey's Corner. Here's Jalopnik. This is, I got 2 press cards a week to go pick up on Monday mornings. This is why I'm not here in the office after 1 when you want me to be here. So they kind of like realized what was going on. They're like, oh shit, okay, this is big. And they actually gave me a great opportunity where they gave me a great package. They basically gave me a severance package, which is pretty much what I needed. I'm in a time in my life where the timing is actually perfect, where I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have any kids, I don't have a mortgage. I got money in the bank, I don't have any debt. So I figure, yeah, man, I'm fucking doing this. I'm going all out because this is my dream. So I have to try it at least, right?
And it's impressive because you know what you want. You're in the place to get it. And this is, when I have all the guests on who talk about how they got started into business or how they became, who they are now, there's always that moment where it's like you just have to sever, like you have almost everyone has the same story of like a hidden life in the journalism field, like a hidden life of like an automotive enthusiast / journalist, and then, it blossoms into something and it just becomes, well, I have to leave one part of my life behind to go take part of another. And, you got such a great opportunity because, like you said, no wife, no kids, and you're already in this position where, now I just expect even bigger and better things out of you. So you set the bar too high for.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That was the goal, actually. Like it was because I knew that having more time, I would be able to chase more stories. And I had a conversation with Patrick George about this before deciding this. I called a lot of people around me. Patrick was a key player in this, and he backed me up superbly well. I really, by the way, and I have a lot of respect for Patrick George and how he's helped me so much in this adventure. And the reason why I'm specifying that I'm still a contributor is simply, this whole, it's all about budget, of course. So like, even Jalopnik, which is huge, has a budget to respect. And I'm not American. I mean, they have their people in New York, they have their staff. But I think that Patrick is satisfied, I hope, and I'm guessing he's satisfied with what I do. And he accepted to give me a bit more bandwidth, and has given me more leeway to chase the stories I want to chase. And there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out. Expect to see more not new reviews. I've noticed that I really, really like doing not new reviews, and doing them has an exponential effect. Like, I don't know if you saw recently, I just released the Integra Type R on Jalopnik. And
I saw it, but it's in my little read list because it came out 2 days ago, if I remember right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
the Integra Type R, and there was the Volkswagen Corrado before it. As much as I love doing brand new press cars, that's still really fun to do. There seems to be an increase in popularity in all the vintage stuff and all the older stuff and all the cars that we grew up with in the 80s and 90s. And they're really picking up well on the site. Readers are really enjoying it. So I got these cool opportunities. I'm going to be driving a Lancer Evo next week, Evo 8. And I'm actually going to drive to Toronto later on this month to try a Renault Clio. Clio V6. That's fucking awesome, man. I mean, I can't even believe that somebody in Canada found a way to import that car. I don't even know how the hell that person managed to do it. But he's got a whole bunch of cool cars over there. He has an Escort Cosworth, and so yeah, he's like, this is just a Jalopnik reader that saw the article and emailed me, and it's like, wow, this is more work for me. So great. I mean, so I just the kind of stories, I pitched that stuff to Patrick, and thankfully we seem to have a very similar taste in cars. So for sure, he's really psyched about the Renault Clio. So that's another example of the kind of stories we're going to be having in the short term on Jalopnik.
Well, the Renault Clio V6, if memory serves right, just for everyone listening, is a rear mid-engined small hot hatchback, right?
That's right. It's a fucking cool hatchback, man. It's a mid-engine V6 powered rear wheel. I mean, that thing it must be awful to drive. I'm pretty sure that it must have terrible liftoff oversteer, and it must be one dangerous son of a bitch. But oh man, it is so cool. It's one of those cool, weird French cars that you just want to drive.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is so quintessentially French in, their, laissez-faire attitude towards life of, put the engine back there, give it a ton of horsepower.
There you go.
He's good. That's a terrible French accent, but, hey, life, what is it without lift-off oversteer, right? Like that. So I don't know what accent that just was, and you being in the French-Canadian part of Canada is probably like, what are you doing, Ike? But
that's not a more West Montreal semi-Italian accent, but
yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Everything tends to come out Italian out of me for some reason. So no, I'm excited to hear that, and that's kind of one of the benefits of you being a Canadian. You can go to these, because your import rule's a little bit better than ours. I think it's 20 years, not 25 years.
It's actually 15 years in Canada.
15 years, yeah. So you got a good lead on us in terms of the cool, fun stuff you can get. So
damn right.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see, and there's a lot of, I would say there's a eccentric type of person that probably exists in French Canada that doesn't exist here in the United States. I just imagine that for some reason, like the car nuts in your neck of the woods. Do you find them to be, because you've been down here to the States a few times now and seen kind of our car culture, is there a big difference between the French Canadian part and the American part, or even just the regular Canadian part?
Well, Quebec is right off the bat. Quebec is very different than the rest of Canada in the sense that Quebecers buy a lot of small cars, small Japanese and Korean cars are very popular here. And I was actually impressed when I went to New York for the auto show and Florida on my vacation. You guys buy a shitload of big ass SUVs, but I'm impressed at how many Yukons and Cadillac Escalades are driving around in Florida, man. I mean, we don't buy that shit here. I mean, you see that shit here. It's either a drug dealer or the boss of a supermarket or something. But I mean, people buy a lot of Hondas here, a lot of Toyotas, a lot of Japanese cars because they're very reliable cars. Number one, we have our climate, which I mean, for the longest time, I'm sorry, but American cars were shit in our climate. But also, gas is fairly more expensive up here, and Quebec in particular has that European, a lot more than the rest of Canada has that European kind of French influence, where they have this adoration with smaller cars, city cars. The Fiat 500 here is extremely popular, and we're a province that we make our own wine, we make our own cheese, we do a lot of stuff that mimics France, and so that these little cars with manual transmissions are very popular. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, so when you approach, did they do cars and coffees events, or is it cheese and carbs or something like that?
No, it's still cars and coffee. That's we still have those, but yeah, at cars and coffees events, I mean, the enthusiasts, it's very similar. I mean, you still have the common, people who like American cars. The thing is, at Quebec, the baby boom generation is the same thing as in the States. They're still hanging on to all the American muscle cars. That's awesome. I mean, I have a lot of respect for American muscle cars. But there's a lot of Japanese cars, especially in Montreal, because we have the JDM shops because of the port of Montreal. A lot of parts from Japan arrive in Montreal in containers. We have, I think, 3 or 4 JDM shops in Montreal where they're gigantic warehouses where you go in there and you can buy the entire front end to a Civic Type R, or you can buy I don't know, like the engine for an R32 Skyline. And for a short time in Quebec, we actually had a lot of right-hand drive JDM cars here because of the 15-year rule. So we had a wave of those cars come in, Skylines, Supras, RX-7s, all the cool stuff from the 90s. But then the SAAQ, the Quebec takes care of registering vehicles here in Quebec, they banned those cars because they were deemed too dangerous because they were right-hand drive. So now, during that short time when they were sold, they're still allowed to be on the road. So the ones that were sold are still legal because they were sold, they were inspected, they were plated, but we're not allowed to import the cars anymore. So what those JDM shops did, it's actually pretty smart. Instead of importing cars, they're importing parts of cars. So let's say you have, for example, like a regular Integra GSR, you want to convert it into an Integra Type R, they'll have the entire front end to a Type R, the engine, everything, the engine mounts, suspension. You can build your own Type R out of parts that come from an actual one in Japan.
I'm surprised because, I always assume, Canada is just kind of smarter than us Americans when it comes to a lot of stuff, but that seems silly to just outright ban right-hand drive cars. Like, shame.
Well, Quebec is very strict on a lot of weird shit. Our road regulations are very odd, and but we've got a lot of. There's a lot of racing going on in Quebec. We have a lot of facilities. We have the Circuit Gilles, so having the Formula One, attracts a lot of people. We have Circuit Mont-Tremblant, and we've got these old racetracks that are rotting away in cornfields, like the one I use for my reviews, which is Saint-Air. It has so much history. There was like a lot of top fuel drag racing that was done in the past until they put lead in the gas and it ruined the sport. They had some weird regulations with the border and all that, importing lead gasoline from the U.S. But saying that Canada is smarter than the U.S. is totally right. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I really like my experience when I was in the States last week. I find Americans are very friendly people, and
you're not going to the right parts of the States then. So. So where did you come visit in Florida? You chose to come at probably the worst time to go to Florida because it's probably hot and super muggy down there the entire time.
Yeah, it was, but no, it was great. It was actually a good opportunity because one of my buddies is in the Canadian Army, and the Canadian military gets some training sometimes in the U.S. He was down in Florida, stationed at a base for some training, but the Canadian government is paying him a beautiful condo by the beach in Destin. I was in Destin, Florida. So on the northern side of Florida, not too far from Alabama, actually. And it was great. My taxes are buying him his fucking condo. I deserve to go see that condo, man, over there. So it was great because I had a free condo and free food. It was all paid by the military. And so just did the Florida life, man. Just going to Walmart at 1 a.m. and buying a bottle of wine for me is totally unreal. We can't do that in Canada. We can't do that shit. 24-hour Walmarts do not exist in Canada. They're very intriguing places to visit when you're not American.
Yeah, if you want to get to know the real America, I think.
Oh yeah.
Because the Florida Panhandle, which is where it sounds like you were at, close to Alabama, that's probably the most rednecky part of America. And
that's perfect. I wanted to live it. I wanted to live redneck America. I wanted to see what that was. I was fascinated by that. And I was not disappointed, Ike. It was amazing.
So when you went into the Walmart at 1 a.m., I had an experience when I was in a southern Walmart at a late hour where there was probably 100 people in the store, and I had more teeth than everyone combined. Did you have a similar experience in there?
Oh, well, yeah. When I arrived, there was an alcoholic in the entrance yelling in a wheelchair. So that was my first contact with Walmart in Florida at 1 a.m. I saw some people. I saw a family at around midnight. Yeah, it was about midnight. An entire family with a child doing their groceries at midnight with a child. I was like, what the fuck is this, man? This is weird.
That is, yeah. Welcome to America. That should be on the picture of the border crossing right there. It's not so.
But it was all. It was great. What else? I went to Alabama. I actually went to Mobile, and I went to visit the USS Alabama, which is the big warship. That was great. That's impressive. I mean, I wanted to touch and taste America all the way to its military, and that was a really interesting exhibition. And going to Alabama was cool also. I mean, it's funny because we're at the hotel and it was raining that night, and Forrest Gump was playing on TV. I hadn't seen Forrest Gump forever, and we were just having a kick out of the whole Alabama accent and all. And my buddy's like, "Hey, you want to go to Alabama tomorrow? There's a really cool military base over there with like a big ship, and they even have the Blackbird over there in a hangar." Like, yeah, man, let's just drive to Alabama. And I lived the Alabama life and for a short time, and it was great. I liked it. People were fun. They were friendly. They were enjoyable to talk to, and it was very rednecky, but it was great.
So you didn't find like anyone asking you a whole bunch of questions about you being French and Canadian or anything like that?
Well, we'd often get the "Where are y'all from?" question. Obviously, they didn't understand what our accents were, but it's we're from Canada, and yeah, it's like, I mean, except for you see like a dead look in their eye because they seem to think that Canada is like another state. But it's what impresses me every time as a Canadian. And once again, I mean, I'm paid in American dollars. I work for an American outlet, and I'm speaking right now on an American show. I have a lot of respect for your nation, and I think that's what makes Canada and the U.S. great neighbors. But it also allows us to make a bit of fun of you guys, just like you guys make fun of us, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always impressed at how when I go to America, how America doesn't seem to want to care about anything outside its country. And even being Canadian, it's like, oh, you're Canadian, it's great. They seem to think I'm part of them. Which, I mean, as a Canadian, it feels great because I don't feel threatened. I don't feel like a terrorist. I don't feel like I'm hated. I don't feel like somebody's going to attack me. I feel that I'm welcome. But it's odd because every time I'm in the States, I feel like Americans think I'm American, which is a weird perception. Yeah.
It's like, well, that's basic. You're America's hat. That's how that comes down to, right?
Right. I guess that's a good way to see it. As long as I don't get shot, that's fine.
Which is very possible in Alabama if you say the wrong thing. Yeah, like if you were in Alabama and said, well, like we're Canada, so you're like, Canada's pants down here in America. Like that just might be enough to like set people off. So
yeah, gotta watch out what you say.
But that's awesome. So you were there for a whole week. So what is the most redneck thing you experienced while you were down here in the States?
Oh, the most redneck thing. Oh, holy shit! There was quite a lot of few weird things that I saw. Well, I'm fascinated by how many overweight people I saw. That was a bit sad. But,
oh, yeah, you were in the diabetes mecca of the United States. Did you have any sweet tea? Because that's what causes it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I heard about sweet tea. Well, I did not have it. By the way, I was extremely disappointed with the coffee everywhere I went.
Yeah, welcome to America.
So. Yeah. The food. I mean, the food was another. The thing is, that's another thing about Canada that Americans probably don't know. We have food standards. We have laws because of our health care. We have laws that protect our food in restaurants and grocery stores. There's food that we're not allowed to have, and portions we're not allowed to have because they're deemed unhealthy for us. For example, supersized format at McDonald's were banned in Canada because they were deemed unhealthy for us. So going to America as a Canadian, you expect to have that safety net until you realize that it's not there. You can go to a restaurant and eat whole shit, and you can be sick, and, you need to call a lawyer. I mean, that's also something else that amazes me as a Canadian is that in America, you need a fucking lawyer for everything. You break your arm, you need a lawyer.
Yeah.
So that was impressive as well, like especially in Florida, where you feel that, okay, like I have to watch out, like when I cross the street because there could be some maniac that just drives over me, he doesn't give a shit and drives off. But the most redneck thing I saw, oh my God, what did I see? I saw some cool shit though in Florida. It was a great experience. I'm thinking.
Did you see truck nuts?
Truck nuts. I did not see truck nuts. I saw a lot of big ass trucks. I was like a lot of rolling coal. Yeah, that I don't like that kind of shit. But very very redneck.
Well, you kind of sit there and think about that. So you're talking about portion size. You were in the South. You were kind of like experiencing the redneck part of America. So, did you have any of the typical Southern dishes like, chicken fried steak or chicken and waffles or like anything like that?
I was kind of, my buddy has been there for a few months and he was like protecting me. He's like, okay, we're going to find like the good spots to eat because this place is, he was really funny because as a Canadian soldier down in Florida, he has been there for about 3-4 months and he just wants to get the fuck out. And I'm arriving, I'm all like, hey, I'm on vacation, man. I'm going to Florida. It's going to be cool. He's like, no, man, this place isn't cool at all. And he's warning me about all like everything. Like, don't be careful when you drive the car on that boulevard. People drive like shit. Okay. And we wanted to go find a restaurant for breakfast. I mean, and that was apparently the only place that was good was the Donut Hole. I don't know if you've heard about it. Apparently it was like the place to eat. And we couldn't go to the Donut Hole because there was like a huge lineup. So we went to just your average breakfast place. And oh my God, it was so disgusting. Oh my God. Like, I have never seen such, there's so much fat everywhere. I mean, that's what really impresses me about everywhere I went at every single restaurant in America was that everything is fat. Everything. Well, not in New York. It wasn't the case in New York, but in Florida, everything is dripping with fat. And for the first time in my life, I asked for sausages, and the waiter brings me these brown, like flattened galettes. They looked like literally pieces of turd that were run over by a car. When I saw that arrive in front of me, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I asked for sausages. These are not sausages, man. And that's when I started thinking they don't have those laws here to protect my health. I mean, I could fucking die here.
Yeah.
So,
it's that part of America is America, not America, and it's like, to use a colloquialism they use, bless their hearts, but there's a reason why population center moved away from there. Did you have any gator while you were there?
Well, there you go. The redneck thing. I didn't have gator, but I actually went to see the alligators on a fan boat with a fucking redneck tour guide, and that was awesome. That was fucking cool, man. He had the thick Southern accent. It was a lot of fun. It really was great. Like just riding in that swamp and like extreme humidity and like just the Florida sun just burning my poor white Canadian skin. And here we're like in the Florida like
Everglades.
Outdoors and looking for an alligator, right? And that was cool. It was really cool. And I have that tour guide yelling at us from the back with his deep, like, West Florida accent. So, yeah, that was awesome.
I'm curious. Can you do his accent at all?
Well, I don't know, I guess, it was all, where you all from? Canada. Oh, you're from Canada. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Maybe I don't have it well, but it's, I'm going to go see some alligators, and I'm going to go drive down the swamp, going to make a hard turn to the left, and I don't know, it's really hilarious.
You just sound vaguely American when you do the redneck accent. So
I can't do it.
Yeah,
it's French originally. So.
Yeah, dang oh, go get up in Canada. Wee, dang oh, shoot, yeah. Like that's what I'm picturing in my head.
Mostly like that. Yeah.
Did you run into anyone who speaks basically not English when you were down there, where you were having a hard time? No?
Never. I've had. Yeah, sometimes people would speak to me in like a weird, like slang Southern accent, and it was like, "I'm sorry, excuse me." Being Canadian, I had to say sorry 3 times.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So, what did you have? What were you driving around while you were down here with us?
Oh, I was my buddy. I bought a Hyundai Tucson. Thanks to my review, actually, he bought a Hyundai Tucson and he drove it down from Quebec to Florida. So that was the car that we had to drive around, and it was okay. It's fair. It's another one of those stupid crossovers, but it's fine.
Well, good car to blend in though down there. Not a terribly big car and terribly small car, just kind of middle of the road vehicle for that. So, So, if you had to move to one place, would you move to New York or would you move to, Western Florida?
I like New York a lot. I really like New York. As a Canadian, I love that city. I find it oddly resembles Montreal, but a lot larger, of course. Yeah. If you go to Montreal, you go to New York, you notice there's that Eastern like East Coast, kind of like Montreal, Boston, New York. They kind of all feel they're all these old cities from Eastern North America, which have a lot more culture to begin with. New York has very culturally diverse, very much like Montreal. People are smart when you talk to them. You can have intelligent conversations with them. You can eat in a fancy restaurant, and the food is actually good. And I just like the energy and the vibe of New York. And it was great when we got to meet you and I at the New York Auto Show. That was a great opportunity for me to meet the people at Jalopnik as well. So I met the entire New York team. And yeah, I can talk about that if you'd like. That was a great experience.
Well, first of all, we got to get you out to Chicago and show you like real America, like the good part. But yeah, you took the bus from Canada to New York, and I'm fascinated by this because, first of all, I know we talked a bit about this while you were there, but it's a Canadian bus. What is it like to be on a Canadian bus?
Oh man, it was a fucking Prevost, man. Prevos are awesome. Prevos have electrical outlets. They're built in Drummondville, Quebec. So I was driving down with a homegrown, home-built bus maker. It was a terrible decision, to be honest. It was probably one of the worst traveling decisions I've taken in my life. It was just, the whole story behind the bus ride was that I wanted to go to the New York Auto Show, and I told Patrick George about it. He already had his entire team. Again, this is all legit because it has to do with budget reasons. He had the New York team already covering the show, so he didn't need. I mean, there's no point in calling your Canadian contributor to cover the auto show where your entire team is.
Yeah.
So I mean, he couldn't justify any kind of budget to fly me down or anything. So I was like, all right, fair enough, but I still want to go down. I figured it was very important to meet the team. I'm somebody who I like to know who I'm working with. I like to meet the people in person, and I already had a good impression with everybody working there, and I just wanted to meet them. So I paid the trip. I said, look, I'm going to pay it, and what's the cheapest way to go down is a bus ride. But it was long, and the way back at least was direct. It was actually pretty quick. I slept the entire way, but next time I'll fly or drive down for sure.
So I'm curious. So, like, was it just kind of meandering that made it such a bad decision, or was it the fact that you were on a bus with other people who take the bus?
Well, a bit of both. Actually, the reason why it was a bad decision is that this was my first big auto show outside of Canada, and I had experienced this in Toronto already, but I really realized it when I arrived in New York that there's a whole bunch of parties going on ahead of time, a whole bunch of invitations for the press and the media. And car makers, more and more, what they're doing now is they're launching the product a few days before the show. We saw this with the Dodge Demon, and so there was the Acura TLX coming out, the new one with the new facelift model, and I find out at the last minute my friends here at the local outlets, at the car guy, they're like, hey, you come to the Acura TLX launch. And I'm like, when is it? It's just before the show. It's like at 6 p.m. in the evening. And I'm like, I look at my bus ticket, and the bus arrives at like 6, takes off like at 7 in the morning in Montreal and arrive at 6. It's like a 13-hour drive. I'm like, fuck. So that's when I realized if I would have flown down, if I would have driven down, I could have, better used my time. I still made it to the Acura thing, but I arrived there like a sweaty Canadian, just running through the streets with my backpack on, and the last minute kind of like accreditation for media access, but overall it was great. I mean, I still managed to go everywhere I wanted to go. But yeah, next time, learning from that experience, I would fly down or drive down to the New York Auto Show.
I got you. Was there any like super nosy people on the bus asking you what you were doing and why you were going down there? Anything like that?
No, not at all. Just an abnormally long wait at the border because we had a lot of black people on the bus, and that seemed to bother a lot of border patrol people. But apart from that, everything was fine.
Once again, welcome to America.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Yeah, Canada. It's basically our hat. Like, come on now, it's almost the exact same place. They just
we're wearing. Well, you guys are wearing us, but we're wearing you these days, man. We're watching you from a distance and like, holy shit, man, are they going to press the big red button or something? What's going to happen?
Well, Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Like, it's just head down, pay attention to cars. Like, that's what we're doing.
There you go.
Yeah, just do that. So I don't know. So we met at the auto show. I had a wonderful time with you, and then
that was great. Yeah.
you got to meet a couple of the other guys. You worked with very briefly with Right Foot Down, and then it was off to meet with the Jalopnik guys, huh?
Yeah, that's right. So first I met just with Patrick George, and he was with I just forgot his name. My God, JF Musial from The Drive, and great guy, really really awesome. It's funny because JF Musial, I didn't know I knew who he was, but I was so happy to meet Patrick in person that I didn't really realize who he was with until after. And I was like, holy shit, that guy's like, I love his work. I've actually seen his videos on YouTube, and he works, with he worked with the whole team on the original Drivetrain, Mike Spinelli and Chris Harris and Matt Farah. But meeting Patrick George and meeting everybody at Jalopnik, and I have to say this, and I hope they're listening, everybody who works there is as awesome as what they write, as they're writing. By awesome, I mean it's actually more than awesome. They're great human beings. They're great people. And I say this because the more I'm digging deeper in this profession, and I'm going to events and I'm meeting people and I'm seeing other journalists. There are so many fucking snobs, so many people that are pretentious, that are pretending to be something they aren't, and they're working for these piece of shit outlets that aren't even important, that don't matter. And then you have Jalopnik, which is currently, I don't know if you knew, but the most visited automotive website online right now. I think they beat a record. I know Patrick George tweeted something about that in April, 10.1 million views. And it's a big outlet. They're fucking kicking ass. They're putting out awesome content, and the people behind it are very down-to-earth, humble human beings. And it was just, I had supper with the entire New York team. I was with Patrick, Raph Orlov, Matt Hardigray, Mike Balaban, and Aaron Marquis, their new managing editor. And they were just great people to hang out with. There was no pretension. It was fun. And I was just sitting in front of Raph Orlov, and he's one of my personal idols on Jalopnik. He's as great in person as he is in writing. So yeah, I'm very proud to work for that team. I'm very happy to be counted among them, to have my name on the masthead, to represent that nameplate. When I spoke to Patrick that I wanted to do more of this, he helped me out tremendously by communicating, giving me contacts in the industry and giving me as an advice to spread out my work and, work for other outlets. But I'm not sure I want that. I want to represent Jalopnik. That's the outlet I want to represent. That or my own outlet, which is Clavey's Corner, which is, by the way, gaining great traction up here. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about the folks at Jalopnik. Great people.
The one thing I noticed, I didn't want to bother them when I saw them, but you go to the press pit, and Jalopnik was kind of over in the corner, and they seemed to be the only people there who were being professional but also enjoying themselves. There was a bunch of drunk slobs walking around, just smoozing it up on the floor, but down in the press pit, they seemed professional, but they seemed happy to be there. Everyone else had this air and pretension, of being something or not, like you said, and I really enjoyed that. Now, there was other people there, Alex Roy, some other people. I didn't, Mr. Regular I ran into. I actually didn't see Alex this year. I'm very disappointed.
Oh, man, by the way, Mr. Regular, I can't believe I missed him. He was hanging out with Mickey. Mickey, with I call him Mickey, but it's Michael James Thompson, right?
I think so.
He was on his video of the auto show. He was with them, and I missed Mr. Regular. Like he probably walked right behind me. Like, I so wanted to meet that guy in person. I missed him. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I hung out with him for a bit, and then he went off to an after party. I wanted to be like, can I tag along? But no. Yeah. Because I think he ran into Alex Roy, and I think Alex Roy invited him off to some, because I feel very disappointed, because everyone I get on the show, I say, I'll buy you a drink if we're ever in the same place in the same time. But that tends to be New York, where I meet up with everyone, and if I bought everyone who was on the show a drink in New York, I'd be broke. So
yeah, it can get expensive. And the thing is that what I learned is that everybody, during a show like that, everybody's out there doing their own thing. So, you say, yeah, we'll meet up and have a drink, but then you said that to like 20 people, and you're like, you can only be at one place at one time. So it's like and meeting Patrick was actually funny because I was actually at the Honda event. They had just invited me to the Acura TLX, and I was with all the people from the Car Guide and all the people here in Quebec, and very political, especially here in Quebec. In Canada, you have to be very polite, and it's all very strict, and I'm not a fan of all that shit. But we're in this Asian restaurant, having a good time, and drinking wine and eating Asian food on paid by Honda Canada. So no, I can't just get up and leave. I have to show some respect. And then Patrick texts me, he's like, I'm at that place, I'm at that bar with JF Musio, come join us. I'm like, man, okay, cool. Like, can you give me like 5 minutes? I just have to like
make
a smooth exit. And Patrick just texts me, like, just get up and leave. I'm like, no, man, I can't do that. I'm sorry. But it turned out really well. I mean, it actually, timing was great because the Dodge Demon launch was coming up. So poor Honda, everybody just got up from the table and went to the Dodge Demon launch. So that was my exit, right? It was the perfect opportunity to get up and leave. But then I also met Kristen Lee and Mike Roselli at the show. And they were working. We were at the that weird Toyota concept that came out, that little truck there.
Yeah, what the hell was that? Oh, that was because weren't we hanging out? And you I felt bad because I didn't want to push myself off near the front.
Yeah, you kind of disappeared. We were chilling, and then I moved forward. But I do that in auto shows, by the way. I just walk. I just impose myself. I don't care. I just go up to the front, right by the car. And I'm always the guy you see in the cameras. Who the fuck is this guy? What the hell is he doing there? Like Forrest Gump does, right?
Mm-hmm. This is the difference between the Midwest and Canada. Midwest, I'll just stay here because I'm not really taking pictures. Canada, I'm just going to go up to the front. Sorry, everyone.
There you go. And, so that's when I saw Mike Roselli and Kristen Lee. I was like, hey, what's up? So, and it was very heartwarming to see all these people that I have a lot of respect for their work. They do great work, and them telling me, I'm a fan of your work. It's like, wow, this feels great. And it really is, I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy to see that there are people out there that are enjoying what I do, and it motivates me to do more. So, yeah.
And again, I love what you do. I love reading your stuff. I think it really couldn't have happened to a better person to, be able to quit their day job, focus on automotive journalism full time, because you do such a good job, and what you write is so compelling. And, I wish you the best of luck. And
Thank you.
I'm curious about what you've driven since we've last talked that has been your favorite thing that you've driven in that time.
Oh, man, I've driven a lot of stuff ever since. The thing is that now we're running 2 press cars a week, sometimes 3, and that's also a reason why I want more time to actually drive the fucking thing. Since we spoke, are you talking about all the cars I reviewed, what I really love? Right now, off the top of my mind, Volvo Polestar, that V60 Polestar has, it was, I don't know, it's something about that car I really like. That blue, it's the way it's so different and so odd, and it's expensive for no reason, and it's a wagon, and the Volvo is that I really like. Mm-hmm. I've been into a lot of sport compacts lately. I've had a chance to drive Golf GTI, Golf R, Hyundai Elantra Sport, which was impressive. Jetta GLI, Focus ST. I have to say that the Golf GTI remains one of my favorite cars out there in terms of like pocket rockets. I had the Lexus RCF just before going on vacation. That is a tremendously weird, unusual creation that I respect a lot. And the review's coming out very soon on Jalop. They expect that one to come out in a few days.
Fascinating, because a lot of people, I don't know, I don't trust their opinion of that car because they write very generic things. So I'm very curious to see your write-up on it, because it is such a, I don't know, I've heard mixed things about it, so I don't know. So, but
it's the Lexus RCF is, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, so the Hyundai, was it the Hyundai Elantra Sport is the little turbocharged thing they have, right?
Yeah,
it's
the Elantra with a turbo engine.
Yeah. Do you think, and this is where I'm curious about this, do you think that the price difference between that and the GTI makes that car worth it?
It does make it worth it. Because it's no GTI. It's far from the GTI, but it's also far from it in terms of price. Yeah. And it's the Hyundai Elantra, and I know that people will say, yeah, but Hyundai doesn't have any experience in racing and they don't have any pedigree, blah, blah, blah. Hyundai is making very, very good cars these days. They're all out talking about their superstructure platform. Well, you actually feel that shit when you're driving the car. That thing feels rock solid, man. The gearbox is, you don't feel anything in the shifter, and the clutch is light, and steering is light, and the engine doesn't make any particular cool sounds. But for the money, you're getting decent performance. It is fun to drive, and it looks decent. It's a good looking. It's a cheap, affordable, and probably quite reliable sport compact car. So it does give a run. Even like the Ford Fiesta ST and the Focus ST and all those cars, which are better cars, because the Hyundai is so cheap, it really gives them a run for their money.
Yeah. Do you think that's because I was talking about this with Justin Hughes at the auto show, where the the Hyundai Elantra Sport is like the hidden best value for dollar sports car out there, like in terms of like yeah,
it is, because you until now, if you're looking at how much performance you're getting for your dollar, until that car came out, it was the Fiesta ST that had it.
Mm-hmm.
Some would argue maybe the Fiat 500 Abarth, but the Fiesta ST is cheaper and it has more power. And now the Hyundai came out with equivalent power, more affordable, a bit more spacious because it's a compact, it's not a subcompact. It's not a hatchback. Of course, the Fiesta is a hatchback. I think you own a Fiesta ST, right?
I do, yeah.
So you know about that car. A wonderful little car.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Hyundai Elantra Sport more fun than the Fiesta ST? No, but it's damn close and it's cheaper. So if you're looking for the cheapest performance car, the cheapest car that will give you a thrill and be respectfully quick off the line, like at a drag strip, definitely that's the car to buy, man.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good car to get a budding enthusiast, because you could modify it and make it into a much better car, but it's safe and reliable enough that you're not going to care about giving it to a 16-year-old, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. So kind of lost where we're going with that. I wanted to get back to a topic you were bringing up, and I forgot which topic that is, because that's how I operate with my ADHD. Oh, so all the cars. I'm sorry. Go on.
So we're talking about cars. You were asking me about which cars I drove since we spoke last time.
Yeah. Which ones? I know you said the V60R. I know you've done the Volvo V90 in that time. A couple of like classic reviews. If you had to live with one for the rest of your life, which one would you want?
And the ones that I reviewed, or any car at all, I can give you both.
Well, give me both then, because we'll take both.
Well, if I were to go to... Okay, I've always said my favorite car in the entire world remains the Ferrari 288 GTO.
Yeah.
But I have a fascination with a lot of... these days, I'm really thinking if I'd have like a lot of money, I would just like buy a whole bunch of cool 90s cars, like a Honda CRX, and just keep it in a shed. My personal Civic SIR, it's one of those cool little hatchbacks that I'm rebuilding right now, putting it back in shape. I'm looking at Clavey's Corner right now to see the cars I've driven lately.
Mm-hmm.
I have this thing for that Integra Type R that I drove. But if I were to go buy a brand new car right now, hands down it would be a Mustang GT, Ford Mustang GT with a 5.0 and a manual transmission.
That's a good option. I'm surprised. I was expecting you to say the Chrysler Pacifica.
Oh, Pacifica was a great van, though. That was a great van. But no, I would not buy that, because I'm not. As I say in my review, I'm a cool dad, and I'm not a dad. But if I was a dad, I would be a cool dad, and I would not buy a Pacifica. I'd buy a crossover, like everybody's doing these days.
I hate that. I much prefer for people to. Speaking as someone who owns a crossover, I would much rather have a minivan than a crossover.
Oh man, the Pacifica is one hell of a fucking van, man. It is cool as hell.
Yeah.
It really is. It's really like, I never thought I'd say this about that kind of car, but it's so like in tune with the times. It really, it's the van that was created for a Gen Y parent like you and me, who are in their late 20s, early 30s. I don't know how old you are, but late 20s, early 30s. So it really, really speaks to us as exactly what we like in cars, and at the same time, it speaks to the next generation of kids who are addicted to tablets and Snapchatting and just like always complaining that they're not happy, and even when they're sitting in leather seats that look like they belong in a Learjet, they're still not happy with their life. So.
No, I want to get one for a review, and I want to get it and have my wife drive it. But Chrysler is very persnickety down here with who they let drive around their cars for some reason. I'm like, we're not going to let you have one. I'm like, but why? I'm like, I guess once you get in their pool, you get access to like everything else in their like press fleet. Which
yeah, Chrysler, I tell you, FCA, if you can get your hands on a Hellcat, which I had the chance to drive. Yeah, the Hellcat, by the way, I drove that. I don't know if you saw it on a wet track. That's on Jalopnik. I don't know if you saw that go by.
I have a bunch of catching up to do because I get so behind on, getting interviews and guests and everything. It does get harder after a while. Like
I totally get it. We're really like dishing out a lot of stuff also on Jalopnik on a regular basis. But yeah, I did a story on a Dodge Charger Hellcat on a wet track. It was not landed by FCA. It was landed by a friend of mine who bought it brand new. He literally came out of the dealership and drove to San Air where we were. We were there shooting another car, and he pulled up with this fucking Hellcat. It was brand new, like so new, like it was coming right out of Dodge. And he threw me the keys, and he's like, "Go have fun." And I'm there with Mile, my photographer. We're at the track, but it was raining all day. But it stopped raining. By the time he arrived, he had stopped raining, but the track was still damp and still wet in some areas. But man, he just fucking threw me the keys to his 700 horsepower Hellcat, man. I can't say no. That was one of the scariest experiences in my entire career. But at the same time, once you've driven a Hellcat, you can drive anything, man.
Yep.
Drive anything. And after I sent that review to Dodge, I do believe they like me a lot more now. I think that's the key. I think you have to drive a Hellcat. Find a way to get a Hellcat and do a kick-ass review on it. And I think FCA is going to like you after.
Yeah, it could be all the bad-mouthing I did about their Challenger when I had the one that went to the shop 26 times. That's possible.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and then bitching at him about it. But, lost my train of thought. No, yeah, the Dodge, I don't know, the Hellcat. I mean, what do you think about this? So, you have a vehicle that's based on an E-Type from like the late '90s, and then you shove 840 horsepower into it in the form of a Demon, and then say, "Look how smart we are! We can put 840 horsepower into a car basically designed in the 1990s, like last millennia." Like, I don't know. I have my personal opinions about that. Obviously, not too pleasant about it, but I think there's like this great American, like it's almost like the Donald Trump of cars. Like, why do we have this thing? Because it's loud and it's brash and it's in your face, and it's a little old fashioned, but go fuck yourself. So
well, yeah, it's a fascinating product. It is. I consider these fast Dodge as being excellent American marketing and nothing more.
Yeah.
It's at a time where we're going to green cars, electric cars, hybrid. Everybody's trying to do their best. I mean, at the New York Auto Show, Honda had the Clarity program, and here we have Dodge dishing out this big, fat fucking Demon. And you know who got the most attention at New York? It was fucking Dodge, man.
Yep.
They're the ones who attracted the most attention because it's cool. Everybody finds that car fucking cool. But the reality is, I was driving that Hellcat, and it's completely useless, man. You can't do shit with that car. I mean, even on a track, it is completely useless. You can't use the power. Mm-mm. It's really just to say, I have 700 goddamn horsepower. I'm going to smoke you on the quarter mile. But for the rest of the time, I'm going to have this big fucking overpriced Charger. I'll be driving it, like in eco mode and, just respecting the speed limit and carrying my kids in the back and go do groceries. And, my brakes are due. It's going to cost me twice the price because I got fucking giant Brembos to change. It's completely useless, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't handle all that well. But I'll tell you one thing: when you bore that fucking throttle in a Hellcat, it is nothing compares the acceleration to a Hellcat. Mm-hmm. It is scary. It is brutal. It tells you that it's the boss, and it demands respect. So in that sense, I respect the car for that because it scared the shit out of me.
That there is something about driving around a Dodge Challenger with a ton of horsepower that will put a smile on your face I don't think you get from any other car in any other way. It's like it's a smile of like, I can't believe I just did that and survived. Now, a lot of people put that car in the ditch and they don't get that experience, but you know those.
That's the thing. That's exactly what I thought when I got behind the wheel after driving that car. I was like, "Fuck!" There are people like teenagers, people who are buying these things. That's a dangerous car, man. That thing will kill people. It probably has already.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of feeling you have behind the wheel of that car. Whereas a Subaru BRZ, for example, which has only 200 horsepower, will put the same smile on your face, and you know doesn't need to have 700 horsepower. That's an intelligent car right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the BRZs, you know, and even the Fiesta STs to a certain extent is like, oh, this is all the car you'll ever need. This is all the car, you know, you ever would want, blah, blah, blah. But they're almost too much of a critic's darling where, like, we're the enthusiast and we kind of understand it. But on the flip side of that, it's like no one in the real world is going to want this car because it is so geared to appealing to the critics that it misses, you know, it's not a hangover film. It's the
BRZ. If you review it like a real automotive journalist, it's a very, very bad car in the sense that it's not that comfortable. It's flimsy built. It's the materials are cheap. That Subaru engine has it sounds like it's broken all the time when it's running on idle. There's no room in the back. There's everything about the car is flawed, but all you want to do is drive it, and that's really its only purpose is to drive it. And in that sense, that's why it's brilliant, because it's simple, cheap, affordable, easy to fix sports car.
Yeah. I know. I still argue a EcoBoost Mustang makes more sense.
EcoBoost Mustang, well, yeah, I've heard it makes more sense. You're right, but I don't know. I just love that 5.0. I'm still hanging on to the past, I guess.
No, I think if you can afford... See, this is my problem. This is why I don't own a Mustang and why I own a Fiesta ST, because the Fiesta ST was on the lot next to a EcoBoost Mustang, and everything about the EcoBoost Mustang made more sense because I wanted a rear-wheel drive car. I wanted a manual. I wanted something, economical and fun to drive, and the EcoBoost Mustang is all those things. But I just couldn't bring myself to get the EcoBoost Mustang because it's not a 5.0 Mustang. Like, if you're going to get a Mustang, get the 5.0. Like, that was my big issue with it. Like, the only problem an EcoBoost Mustang has is that the 5.0 Mustang is a thing. Like,
there you go.
Yeah. I don't know. So, I don't want to keep you up too late. I know we got a bit of a late start getting into this. I apologize for that. Toddler running around. So, we'll kind of, begin ramping up here. So, this is where I typically ask all the stupid questions about, what would you eat in a car and blah, blah, blah like that. So, I don't know. Have you eaten anything terribly difficult in a car since last we spoke?
Eaten something terribly difficult in a car since last time we spoke. I have eaten, what have I eaten? That was really hard to eat in a car. I except for a Subway. No, Subway is awful to eat in a car.
Yeah, well, Subway's just awful to eat all the time. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, so there's that. I'll tell a brief anecdote. I've experienced the worst thing to have leak in a car. So I went out the other week, and because I'm a busy parent, I bought my daughter a Happy Meal. But because I didn't want her to have a bad drink with it, I got her milk. But I never gave her the milk, so it kind of was just rolling around on my passenger seat. Today, it wasn't even particularly hot, but for some reason it decided to leak all over the passenger seat of my car. That is the worst smell on the planet.
Oh, my God. That's disgusting, man.
Yeah. So I have, soured milk, on my passenger seat, and I don't know what to do to get rid of it. So this is going to be an interesting experiment. I might actually make a video about this because I don't know how exactly to clean up this damn smell. So this is going to be fascinating. So,
yeah, man.
well, it's such a pleasure to talk with you. every time. We got to get you on the show more often because you're always a delight. You always got such a good attitude, and I love what you write. And
thanks, man.
so, and we got to get you out to Chicago to get you some real American food, like some good deep dish pizza, some good hot dogs. We'll get you out there one day. So
I'm gonna be in Nashville this weekend. Does Nashville have anything good, or?
They do. Nashville does good barbecue. I think is what they're really known for. So
they're kicking ass in hockey right now. They got a couple of they got PK Subban. They fucking stole him from us, but we've got we've got a couple of Canadian players playing in Nashville, and they're fighting it off against Pittsburgh for the Stanley Cup. So I'm hoping that I can maybe catch a glimpse of the hockey game with them.
Mm-hmm. I'm rooting for Nashville too. So. Just because.
Fuck yeah! Just because you were just tired of seeing Pittsburgh win all the time.
Yeah, well, I'm tired of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh people annoy me. Everyone I know who's from Pittsburgh, with the exception of like 2 people, just annoyed the ever living crap out of me. And
really?
Yeah, I don't know. It's because like we're going to have football, we win in hockey. It's like I hate you guys. Now I can't say much because I don't even like hockey, but just not fuck Pittsburgh, but. Fuck Pittsburgh just a little bit. Sorry, everyone who listens in Pittsburgh, because I know I actually have quite a big listenership there. I'm sorry. I don't really mean it, but I kind of mean it. But they're probably going to prove me wrong by winning the Stanley Cup anyway. So, yeah, I was going to ask, is that why you're going down there, just for the Stanley Cup?
No, I'm going there for a General Motors drive. It's the first drive of the Chevy Equinox 2-liter turbo, another crossover, but looking forward to it. So. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's nothing exciting, but I'm actually curious to drive it because I've been driving the Honda CR-V is killing everyone these days. So I'm curious to see what General Motors did to the Equinox. I didn't try the V6 powered Equinox yet, so and it's also my first drive outside of Canada. It's actually an American event, and they're inviting a few Canadian journalists. So I'm not going to say no. It's a great opportunity to meet people and just go for a drive in an SUV, man. So,
and Nashville is some good driving roads around there, so I'm sure it'll be fun.
So that's what I hear. Yeah, we get a cool setup going on over there. And for the record, back to that Honda CR-V, I don't know if you knew, but it is currently one of the reviews on Jalopnik that has generated the largest amount of views. I think it's like at 145,000 views. Mm-hmm. So I'm very proud of that one. Also, that I don't know if you catch the glimpse of that Aston Martin buying experience that I did.
No, I did not. I don't know how I missed that because the other stuff is on my reading list for one reason or other. I don't know how I missed this Aston Martin buying experience.
Yeah, that was back in the winter. It was actually really a lot of fun because I actually explained what it's like to buy a car when you're loaded, when you're rich.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one picked up a lot, and I'm actually planning. That's actually I guess I can share it here on the show. Expect to see something like a part 2 of that with the people at the Carry Motors. What I can tell you is that it will involve an Aston Martin DB11 and poutine. So this is good. We're looking forward to that. We've been setting it up for a while with Andrew Collins and Patrick George and the people at the Carry Motors. We're hoping that it will happen the way we want to. I can't guarantee anything yet, but I know that they told me they received some press cards this week, and there's supposed to be one in there for me. So
nice.
Stay tuned.
Aston Martin and poutine just sounds like a match made in heaven in my mind. So.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, and this is gonna be, if this works the way I want to, it's gonna be one epic fucking story, man.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to hear that. So. We're going to wrap up here, but what is your prediction for who's going to win this week in Formula One? So that way we have it locked in and we can make fun of you and me for getting it wrong.
Oh my God! Do not ask me this because I haven't been following that much. I think am I wrong when I say Sebastian Vettel won Monaco?
I actually don't know who won Monaco, but I can look it up in just a second. Actually, I don't think he won. I don't know who won, actually. Who won Monaco?
I'm in front of my computer right now. Monaco Grand Prix 2017. Let me check. Because, we've got Lance Stroll, which is our Canadian driver. But, yeah, it's Sebastian Vettel. That's what I thought. Sebastian Vettel wins Monaco Grand Prix. And I think Lewis Hamilton came second.
So who won? Did you see it?
Yeah, Sebastian Vettel won in Monaco. Yeah, so I still think, Lewis Hamilton has been winning a lot in Montreal for the past few years. It seems to be his track. I am going to vote for Lewis Hamilton this year. Mm-hmm. But Montreal, I don't know if you follow, if you've read in the past, but it's a very, a lot of surprises, a lot of action happens in Montreal. It's always so unexpected who wins. Mm-hmm. We've had like really, really cool shit happening in the last years.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with Bottas, or Bottas.
Bottas?
Yeah. Bottas, yeah. That's who I'm going. I'm going Bottas, Hamilton, Vettel in that order.
That would kick ass actually to have Bottas. Yeah, looking forward for the race this weekend. It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, on that note, I will say, just hold on. We'll say goodbye to you off air, Will, and everyone who's listening. Oh, Will, give all the plugs out. I'm sorry. Where should people go to follow you and talk to you and read your stuff?
Yeah. So pretty much, yeah. That's also one thing I wanted to share. You can find my stuff on my own website, claveyscorner.com. So, mostly car reviews, but we're having new sections coming up in the following weeks. We're going to expand the website. You can also find my work on Jalopnik. I'm the Canadian contributor, so you'll see me there. And I will be appearing on a mysterious new outlet soon. I'm not going to share what it is now, but you will see me in another outlet. Maybe we can talk about it on another show.
Excellent.
That's it.
All right. Well, and if they want to follow you on the social media, what is the social media links?
You can find me on Facebook, Clavey's Corner. There's always Twitter, Clavey's Corner as well. They can follow me and our Instagram page, which we have kick-ass photos on Instagram taken by the talented Mile Appearance.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you off air, Will, and everyone listening. I will be right back as soon as I figure out how to pause the recording. And everyone, thanks again so much for listening. If you like what you hear, tell a friend, tell a loved one, tell a coworker. You can find us on Google Play, iTunes, SoundCloud, or not SoundCloud, I'm sorry, Stitcher. You can follow me on iTunes. You can follow our West Coast correspondent, Ryan West, at RyanNader122. Tell a friend, because it's the best way for us to grow. Go visit Track Monkey Apparel and Right Foot Down. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. Have a good night. Have a good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is there. Thank you so much for listening. Please, be safe out there.